I took a walk around the Meiji Jingu station and the Takeshita Street in Harajuku. Around the district Harajuku, the center of teen fashion and subcultures. To get a look on how people nowadays think about fashion, I interviewed people on the streets, in restaurants, in shops, and at the Bunka University in Shinjuku. I asked 2 questions. Is there anything you care about when you choose clothes?
一番はいいと思う。値段とか安すぎ買い物から安いもの全部。
これが自分が好きだなって思ったこれのなんだろうこのコーデとかコーデってなんていうのわかんなんて言うんだろう。
着る形とかなんか私はデザイン性ですね。
And what are clothes for you?
The 50s are said to be the first period of fashion. The rockabilly boom and the style based on Audrey Hepburn. Multiple movements took place. The first being the Michi boom, named after Michiko. Michiko is comparable to the English princess Catherine. Our emperor married, and his son also married a normal citizen. That normal citizen was Michiko's son. She often played tennis and wore tennis clothes. A V-neck, white sweater and a white skirt. She was relatively neatly dressed. This is comparable to Queen Catherine's fashion becoming trendy now. People started to mimic Michiko's fashion. The Michi boom was born. Second is the Nishigiki Western Carnival, the first music festival that took place in Japan. Japanese musicians imitated foreign musicians and the rockabilly fashion had started. The Taiyozoku was inspired by a film based on a book by Ishihara Shintaro. In that film, the youngsters wore aloha shirts, sunglasses and white pants. It had some resemblance to rockabilly fashion, but then more tropical. Another influence was Christian Dior's new look, with shoulders that were made round and which enhanced the femininity of the wearer. This was internationally big, also in Japan. The influence of Audrey Hepburn's movies made that kind of fashion more booming. In the 50s, role models like Michiko-san and music and movie role models influenced fashion. In the 60s, wars had ended. The Vietnam War, for instance. The flow of hippies from America came to Japan. They wore simple t-shirts with denim bell-bottom pants. The 60s are said to be the decade of denim. Jeans were functional, so people started wearing jeans. And besides, there were the Beatles. They were music role models. Their tight suits and mushroom cuts inspired the Japanese people, while the music was also mimicked. Another influence which is pretty unique for Japan was the Ivy fashion. To this day still prominent in Japan. It is a fashion style that cannot be excluded when talking about Japanese fashion. What happened was that this business called the Van Jacket went to America to make prints on jackets for the Ivy League, which had its own American university football team. That student style was thought to be cool, so Van Jacket took that culture to Japan and introduced Japan to this university style. The Ivy fashion escalated and spread in the 60s, went on till the 70s. The 70s were also filled with denim like the 60s, but in this decade movements took place. They were called the Anon tribe, New Trad and Hama Trad. In the 60s, the student style and the Ivy fashion took place in Japan. So the American sports like tennis, ice hockey and baseball started to be popular in Japan. Then people started to wear clothes that were comfortable to move in, like training sweaters with short pants and jeans. There was also this Miyuki tribe, which consisted of teens who were hanging out in the Miyuki street, who took in the Ivy fashion. Thereafter came a movement which was against the jeans. They were female university students in Kobe and office ladies who wanted to wear more beautiful, feminine and sophisticated fashion. They wore tight skirts with blouses instead of a t-shirt. That movement spread from Kobe to the outside. As a reaction to this, a new movement was born called Hama Trad, the Hama of Yokohama. The office ladies and female university students started carrying local brands like Kitamura's bag. A different from a new trad and a bit more childish look appeared. New Trad and Hama Trad went hand in hand with the Anon and Nonnon fashion magazines. These were Japanese fashion magazines that in the eyes of young people were very stylish. The magazines did specials on the new trad and Hama Trad trend. So people started carrying those magazines with them on the street. That was fashionable. That was in the 70s. The wars were long gone and the economy of Japan had grown rapidly. This period was called the bubble. The cities were active 24/7 as if it was day all the time. I also experienced the bubble. To consume expensive alcohol and wear expensive clothes like brands was normal.
みんなこぞって買い漁った時代、要は経済
The economy was prosperous.
ですね。でそこに流行ったのが DC ブラ
At
ンド。
that time, the DC brands, designers, and characters brand became popular.
ジャーモさんだったり、川久保玲さんだったりっていうのがパリコレに
Designers such as Yoji Yamamoto and Kawakubo Rei took part in this boom.
健三さんっていうのがいるんだけれども、もっと
They introduced their works at the Paris collection.
海外に出てった年。
Before that, there were also designers like Miyake Issei and Kenzo, but this decade, more Japanese designers went abroad.
名前を使ったブランドが世の中を席巻しました。
Then the Japanese apparel fashion became booming, and brands that used designers or characters became big.
まあこれも日本特有なんだけども、体にピッタピタで
Furthermore, there was this thing called body conscious, a unique Japanese style where the clothes were super tight on the wearer's body, so that the wearer's body line was visible.
すごくお立ち台って言われる
This style often paired with dancing and waving with fans and fur
ド
on
リ
it.
クルーみたいなのがあったんだけど、その時の女の子たち
This happened
っていうのが
at the Otachi Dai in the bubble, which looked like a disco party where they danced like crazy. At that time, office ladies walked the streets with those clothes.
それとは別に
That is pretty unimaginable in today's society.
渋カジもちょっとヒッピーだったりっていうその時代ともちょっと似てる
Different from the body conscious, there was the Shibukaji trend.
もしくはポロシャツ
Shibukaji had some accents of the hippie style. They wore t-shirts or polos with jeans and chino pants. A very simple and natural style.
って言われる人たちなんだけれども、でも
But the similarity with the DC brands, Body Conscious and Shibukaji, was that every style used brands.
共通しているのはそれでもみんな
This is the characteristic of the bubble period in the 80s.